The moment she entered the publishing office, she was dismissed. Her coat was of frayed wool, her shoes worn, and she held a thick manuscript bound with tape, the pages already yellowing. The receptionist scrutinized her, raising an eyebrow as if detecting an unpleasant odor. "You're here to submit a story? Handwritten?" An editor, with slicked-back hair, barely glanced at the title before laughing. "A boy wizard living under the stairs? This seems like a low-budget Tolkien adaptation." The room erupted in laughter. A staffer even picked up the manuscript, displayed it, and quipped, "Another legend, handwritten, ideal for the recycling bin." Then they threw it directly in front of her. Emily knelt, recovered her manuscript, carefully smoothed a torn corner, and turned away, refusing to lower her head. She offered only a small nod, as if they were the ones being turned down. They simply didn't understand. What they discarded would become a literary phenomenon for an entire generation. And the woman they just mocked would reshape the world. Emily Brooks resided in a small flat above a bustling chip shop in London, a dwelling characterized by the scent of grease, and a radiator that rattled like it was performing for a horror film. She was 31, a single mother to a 6-year-old daughter Lily, who slept on a mattress in the corner while Emily wrote at a shaky kitchen table. Each day began at dawn, balancing toast and crayons for Lily, followed by a quick trip to drop her off at school before going to the cafe close to King's Cross Station. The cafe was a somewhat run-down establishment with greasy food, chipped mugs, and a jukebox that had been broken since the 90s. Despite its appearance, it served as her sanctuary. There, in a corner booth, she would open her notebook and write, her pen creating a world where a boy named Harry Potter lived under a staircase, dreaming of magic. Her attire was unassuming, a pale sweater, a skirt mended at the bottom, shoes so dilapidated that the soles detached during rain. Her dark hair was frequently disheveled, secured with a rubber band, with strands escaping as if possessing a will of their own. She remained indifferent. She wasn't writing to gain recognition. She was writing for Lily, for herself, for the children she observed at the library who possessed only stories to find solace in. The manuscript, Harry Potter and the Glass Owl, represented her deepest emotions, a story of a boy who was overlooked, who discovered magic in a world that disregarded him, who ultimately chose to believe in himself. Each word was meticulously handwritten, each page a testament to her dedication, with pages taped together after the binding failed. Emily submitted it to 12 publishers. She had spent her remaining £20 on postage, carefully wrapping each copy in brown paper, her hands trembling as she closed the envelopes. She hadn't anticipated a positive response, merely an opportunity, but the rejections arrived quickly, each one sharply disappointing. "Do not attempt to write fantasy if you lack understanding of the world," one letter stated, bearing the signature of a senior editor at Crownwell Press, Martin Hale. "A woman writing magic? No thank you," another declared, the words written in red ink by a junior editor named Clara Voss. A note, "This tone belongs in a child's after-school diary, not a bookstore," came from someone at Regent House. It was written by Simon Trent, a literary agent. His name was stamped in gold on the letterhead. Emily read each one quietly, keeping her face calm. Then she put them away in a drawer. She didn't cry. She returned to the cafe and continued writing. While at a local bookshop where Emily occasionally looked at books, she overheard a literary scout from Pinnacle Books, Clara Voss, talking with the owner. "You won't believe the audacity of this woman," Clara stated, her voice laced with disdain. "Some single mom, appearing disheveled, believes she's created wizardry. I instructed my team to discard it to prevent it from consuming more space." The owner laughed, briefly looking at Emily, who was examining a used paperback nearby, oblivious to being discussed. "Likely another sentimental narrative seeking sympathy," he remarked, speaking loudly enough for her to overhear. A customer interjected, a smirk playing on his face. "What's she going to do? Cast a spell to get published?" The others chuckled, glances darting towards Emily's worn skirt and unkempt hair. She remained looking down, her fingers following the book's spine, but the atmosphere shifted, their comments a burden she carried as she returned to her cafe booth. Her pen wavered a little as she wrote, yet she persisted. Her story would be her reply. Emily was seated in her cafe booth on a rainy afternoon, her notebook open, when a group of publishing interns from Regent House entered, their laughter echoing through the space. One noticed her and nudged his friends, saying, "Look, it's the wizard lady, still writing her kitty stories." He approached her, peering at her pages and asking, "What's this, Harry, what's it? Gonna make you rich, huh, love?" His friends laughed, and one mimicked her pen strokes with exaggerated flourishes. "Bet she thinks bookstores are begging for this drivel," another remarked, speaking loud enough for other patrons to hear. A waitress, joining in the derision, placed Emily's coffee down with force, adding, "Dreamers like you clog up the place." The interns quickly took a selfie with her visible in the background and posted it online with the caption, "Hatch Fantasy Fail. Single mom's sad hobby." Emily's hand paused, ink smudging slightly, but her face remained composed, her gaze fixed on the page. The cafe felt smaller, their unkindness a storm she endured quietly, her story her only support. The most difficult experience came from Crownwell Press. Emily had found the strength to hand-deliver her manuscript in person, hoping a direct meeting might influence them. She stood in their modern office, all glass and chrome, holding her pages. Martin Hale, the editor who had rejected her by mail, was present, accompanied by assistants. He glanced at her worn coat and smirked. An unfamiliar woman, appearing like a housewife, who believes she's crafting the next mythology. Absurd. He didn't bother to open the manuscript. Instead, he raised it with 2 fingers, as if it were unclean, and dropped it into a recycling bin. His assistants chuckled, one saying, "Back to the kitchen, love." Emily crouched, recovered her pages, and departed silently. Her quietness wasn't surrender, it was resistance, a pledge to her story. Leaving Crownwell Press, Emily held her manuscript securely. A group of assistants trailed her to the elevator, their laughter bouncing off the hallway walls. One, a young woman wearing a designer scarf, remarked, "Hey housewife, perhaps stick to knitting next time. Writing is best left to the professionals." Another playfully imitated her walk, emphasizing the movement of her worn shoes, while a third took a photograph and shared it online with the caption, "Delusional wannabe attempts to enter the publishing world epic fail." The elevator doors shut, but their laughter persisted, clear and unwavering. Emily stood within, her reflection barely visible on the metallic surfaces, her expression calm but her fingers pressed tightly around her papers. Outside, a person on the sidewalk recognized her from the online post and gestured, saying to a companion, "That's the woman who believed she could create a bestseller." The urban environment appeared to taunt her, each look a reminder of her disappointment. Still, she continued walking, her quietness a defense, her narrative complete. Following the receipt of another rejection notice, Emily went to Pinnacle Books to make her appeal, her manuscript held securely. Clara Voss greeted her in the entrance hall, her red heels striking the floor with a sharp sound. "You again?" Clara said sharply, observing Emily's mended sweater. "I told you nobody desires your small magic story." She summoned coworkers, her tone derisive. "This is the one who believes she's the upcoming sensation, a single mother with a fairy tale." Laughter filled the air. One assistant discarded a crumpled coffee cup towards a bin close to Emily, and smiled when it brushed her arm. "Oops, thought you'd catch it with a spell," he remarked, winking at Clara. A security guard who overheard joined in, saying, "Time to go, lady, don't waste their time." Clara dismissed him with a wave, already turning away. "Stick to raising your kid, not writing flops." She called out, her words reverberating through the lobby with the sound of snickers. Emily departed, her gait resolute, her manuscript intact, yet the impact of their remarks lingered, a chilling dampness. Several months elapsed, and Emily's finances decreased. She reduced her food intake to purchase Lily new shoes, while her own coat became increasingly worn as winter's chill intensified. She was nearing the end of her resources when a letter arrived from Willow Tree Press, a small publisher struggling to stay afloat in a basement office. The owner, Margaret Cole, was direct. "The situation is precarious, your book presents a risk, but I find it promising. We'll print 1,000 copies, conditional on using initials, ensuring anonymity. No one should know the author is a woman." Emily paused, her pen poised over the contract. She was reluctant to conceal her identity, but Lily needed school supplies, and the flat's rent was overdue. She signed as E.J. Brooks. Harry Potter and the Glass Owl was released in June, a subtle distribution in a few London bookshops. The cover was simple, just a drawing of an owl with glass wings, the title in a small font, understated and without promotion. Emily didn't anticipate much. She continued working, taking shifts at a laundromat to make ends meet, writing at the cafe when she had time. However, then something changed. A public school in Leeds sent her a letter, handwritten by a teacher named Ms. Patel. It read, "We read your book to our class. The children haven't stopped discussing Harry. They cried when he found the glass owl. Thank you." Emily clutched the letter, her throat constricted, and placed it with her other rejection notices. When Harry Potter and the Glass Owl was initially released, it was a quiet debut amidst a flurry of well-established titles. However, it quickly gained momentum. A bookshop in Glasgow organized a reading, and children filled the space, captivated as Harry confronted the Shadow Veil. Parents shared accounts of nightly readings, their voices hushed with wonder. "My daughter hadn't engaged with a book in years. Now she refuses to put Harry Potter and the Glass Owl down." By August, London's biggest bookstore saw a line extending out the door, with children holding copies and reciting Harry's spells as if they were a hidden language. A video that became widely shared online featured a boy in Sydney imitating the glass owl's flight, his cardboard wings flapping energetically. News publications described it as a sensation arising unexpectedly. Emily's World, Hogwarts's candlelit halls, the owl's shimmering prophecy, was more than just a story. It provided a sense of belonging for those often disregarded. The book gained widespread recognition, each copy reflecting her unwavering spirit. The audience responded with enthusiastic applause, acknowledging the world's discovery of her. News of the book's popularity quickly circulated. A teacher in Manchester read excerpts aloud, and her students created drawings of Harry's wand, affixing them to their desks. A librarian in Bristol placed an order for 10 additional copies following disputes among children vying for the sole existing copy. A blogger, identified as Katie, a young person, shared a quote online. "The boy who wasn't chosen, chose himself." It received 100 likes, then 1,000, then 10,000. By September, bookshops were unable to maintain sufficient inventory. Parents described it as magical. Children claimed it as their own. A photograph circulated widely online, depicting a girl in a hospital bed, clutching Harry Potter, smiling for the first time in weeks. Emily viewed it on a library computer and wiped her eyes, her heart full. By autumn, Harry Potter and the Glass Owl was no longer simply a book, it was a cultural phenomenon. Schools throughout Britain designated it required reading. Researchers observed a remarkable shift. Children who previously showed little interest in reading eagerly finished Harry's story. A Paris library reported wait lists extending for months, with teenagers drawing the glass owl in their notebooks. In Chicago, a community center hosted a themed event, where families dressed as wizards, their laughter resonating through the streets. Social media platforms were filled with shared quotes. "The boy who was not initially selected ultimately asserted himself." Artwork appeared on bedroom walls, and phrases were permanently marked on wrists. A Tokyo newsstand sold out within hours. The clerk remarked, "It's like Harry is real." Emily's narrative had cast a spell, its influence extending across borders, giving a voice to those who were unheard. Bookstores requested additional printings, their shelves emptied, as readers sent a large number of letters to Willow Tree Press. Demands for more Harry were constant. The world wasn't simply reading, it was experiencing her dream, and the audience felt each triumph personally. 3 months following its release, the book became incredibly popular. It reached the bestseller lists initially in the UK, then in America and subsequently in Japan. News outlets proclaimed headlines, with considerable intrigue surrounding author E.J. Brooks's reimagining of fantasy. Bookstores experienced sellout conditions, placing reprint orders numbering in the thousands. Willow Tree Press, rescued from bankruptcy, relocated to a more suitable office. Margaret Cole contacted Emily, her voice trembling, stating, "We're printing 1 million copies." 1 million? Who are you? Emily chuckled quietly, still wearing her worn coat, replying, "Just a mom who enjoys telling stories." As winter approached, Harry Potter and the Glass Owl became a source of hope. Marketers and deli shops organized midnight releases, with children chanting Harry's name under lantern light. A Brazilian orphanage shared a story of children pooling coins to purchase a shared copy, reading by flashlight after curfew. Numerous fan letters were sent to Willow Tree Press, including drawings of Hogwarts, poems about the Glass Owl, and stories of overcoming bullies, inspired by Harry. A London theater adapted the story, selling out weeks in advance, with the audience weeping as Harry's wand lit the stage. Critics who initially dismissed the work now acknowledged its merit, with one reviewer stating that Brooks had created a myth possessing an enduring quality. The book's impact extended beyond the written word, inspiring bravery and igniting imaginations. From Moscow to Mexico City, readers displayed owl pins, a subtle reference to Emily's universe. Her narrative overcame skepticism, its popularity a recognition she did not actively pursue, and the audience reveled in its brilliance. The National Literary Gala, the publishing world's equivalent of the Oscars, took place at the Savoy Hotel, filled with crystal chandeliers and formal black tie attire. Emily received an invitation, not as a typical attendee, but as the guest of honor. She nearly declined to attend. Lily was suffering from a cold, and the train ticket to central London was costly, but Margaret urged her to go, sending a ticket and a note that read, "You deserve this." Emily chose to wear a plain linen dress, pale blue in color, which she had purchased from a charity shop for $5. The shoes were the familiar, well-worn pair, her hair loose and slightly disheveled. She carried her notebook, prepared for any sudden inspiration during the train ride. The gala presented a spectacle of tailored suits and glittering gowns, the atmosphere heavy with champagne and self-importance. Emily entered discreetly, her invitation clutched firmly, initially unnoticed by the attendees. She positioned herself near a pillar, observing editors and agents exchange greetings, their laughter reminiscent of the Crownwell office. Martin Hale was present, networking while holding a glass of whiskey, his slicked-back hair reflecting the light. Clara Voss, representing Pinnacle Books, commanded attention in a red dress, casually dismissing a waiter with a gesture. Simon Trent, the Regent House agent, spoke proudly of his newest acquisition, his voice audible above the general conversation. They did not notice Emily as she passed, her linen dress seeming understated amidst their elegant attire. She greeted several publishers with a handshake, her grip steady but kind. Martin Hale casually touched her hand, his gaze already searching for someone of greater significance. He offered a greeting, stating, "Nice to meet you," without inquiring about her name, and concluded with, "Enjoy the evening." Clara Voss responded with a strained smile, quietly remarking to an assistant, "Who's that? Some blogger?" Simon Trent remained engrossed in his phone, not acknowledging her at all. Emily offered a courteous nod, her expression calm, and proceeded. She didn't require their validation. She had come for the children who adored Harry, for Lily, for the narrative that continued to endure. A palpable excitement filled the room as the host, a BBC presenter known for his smooth delivery, stepped onto the stage. "Tonight, we celebrate the literary world's most accomplished talents," he began, his smile radiant. But he continued, noting that one name had eclipsed all others. A debut novel, published under initials, had resonated with readers worldwide. It had revolutionized storytelling, provided children with a role model, and rescued a publisher from financial hardship. The audience shifted expectantly, murmuring, "Could it possibly be E.J. Brooks? Here?" Martin Hale straightened his tie, a smirk directed at Clara Voss. "Likely an Oxbridge graduate pretending to be modest," he remarked. Clara acknowledged him with a roll of her eyes. The host's voice increased in volume. "Please welcome the author of the decade's best-selling novel, the woman who created an entire world for millions of children, Emily Brooks." The ballroom became still. Glasses tapped, breathing paused. Emily advanced, her linen dress reflecting the light, her well-worn shoes making no sound on the polished floor. Strands of hair remained tangled, and her notebook was held beneath her arm. Yet, her eyes, steady, warm, and resolute, commanded the attention of everyone present. She ascended the stage, each step carefully placed, as if Hogwarts itself provided support. Martin Hale's whiskey spilled from his hand, staining his shoes. Clara Voss's red dress appeared to constrict, her face losing color. Simon Trent's phone fell onto the table, his earlier claim overlooked. The audience was quiet, a multitude of astonished expressions as Emily arrived at the podium. She placed her notebook down, her fingers lightly touching the aged cover, and gazed out at the room. When she spoke, her voice was distinct and measured, resembling an incantation being spoken. You dismissed the story before you proceeded to the next page. Now the entire world is reading it. The room fell silent. Emily did not elevate her tone, nor did she direct accusations. She found no need to. Her words resonated as undeniable truths, precise and absolute. I wrote Harry Potter and the Glass Owl for my daughter, for children who feel invisible, for anyone who's ever been told they're not enough. You didn't see it, you didn't have to. The children did, they found Harry and he found them. She paused, her gaze sweeping the front row. Martin, Clara, Simon, all frozen. This isn't about me, it's about a boy who chose himself, and the millions who chose him back. As Emily spoke from the gala stage, the crowd's silence broke into murmurs of awe. A children's librarian, positioned towards the rear, was the first to rise, applauding with great enthusiasm. My students read Harry Potter nightly, she exclaimed, her voice filled with emotion. They've begun writing their own stories thanks to you. The room shifted, faces expressing surprise, as others echoed her sentiment. A bookseller who had exhausted their stock in a few hours, and a parent whose previously timid son now embodied Harry's bravery. Emily's narrative had created a world so detailed it felt tangible, Harry's wand flickering under starlight, the glass owl's wings gleaming with mysteries. Her ability wasn't merely proficiency, it was transformation, converting sorrow into optimism. The applause intensified, a surge of admiration, as publishers who had disregarded her now rapidly wrote her name down, recognizing they had overlooked a brilliant talent. Emily remained there, her linen dress a focal point, her understated resilience more impactful than their applause. The applause began gradually, a gentle undulation that built into a powerful surge, shaking the chandeliers. It was more than mere courtesy, it was heartfelt and genuine. Emily moved from the stage, her dress flowing, and returned to her position beside the pillar. Behind the curtain, the gala was filled with discussion of Harry Potter and the Glass Owl. A critic, standing close to the bar, who had previously expressed doubts, confessed, I read it last week and couldn't stop reading it. He continued, the way Harry confronts the Shadow Veil. It's not just a story, it's a reflection for every child who's experienced feelings of isolation. A young author held her signed copy, telling a friend, it's as if Emily understood my childhood, the bullies, the dreams, and transformed them into something magical. The book's world felt vibrant, Hogwarts halls resounding with spells, the Glass Owl's prophecy permeating every page, children in Tokyo dressed as Harry for Halloween, parents in New York reading it aloud, their voices breaking at the conclusion. Its language had initiated book clubs, inspired fan art, and even led to a school play in Dublin. Emily's story resonated deeply, its enchantment touching hearts across the globe. Attendees noticed her near the pillar, transformed from an unknown individual into an author whose writing had reshaped perception. During the gala, while Emily stood by her pillar, the book's reputation intensified. A bookseller confided in a critic, speaking with conviction, I've sold thousands of books, but Harry Potter, it's truly exceptional, children read it as if it were essential. On the other side of the room, a teacher described how her class constructed a cardboard Hogwarts, their faces glowing with pride. Enthusiasts had started a worldwide campaign, Read Like Harry, prompting libraries to increase their fantasy selections for children. Passages from the book, such as Harry's duel with the Frostwraith and the Owl's whispered prophecy, were recited in classrooms, cafes, and even parliaments. A UN delegate confessed it influenced her speech on hope. Emily's impact resonated far beyond recognition. It was a transformative power, redefining perspectives on courage, loss, and love. From Cape Town, readers shared videos, celebrating with dances to Harry's theme, while New York's Times Square displayed the book's cover. The murmurings of the audience shifted to awe, their gaze fixed on Emily, now perceived as a mythmaker in a linen dress, her triumph a shared global victory. The host struggled to proceed, but their words fell on deaf ears. Attention remained on Emily, whispers circulating. Is that her? She's E.J. Brooks? She authored that book? Martin Hale slumped into his chair, his face ashen. Clara Voss held her clutch tightly, her smile vanished. Simon Trent looked at his phone, as if willing the moment to disappear. By morning, the consequences arrived quickly. Crownwell Press, Martin Hale's source of pride, encountered a public relations crisis. Blogs resurrected the recycling bin incident, and readers overwhelmed social media. Crownwell passed on Harry Potter.
Bileyim hale.
The board reduced his position to junior editor, his office relocated to a cubicle. The reputation of Clara Voss's Pinnacle Books suffered a significant blow when a leaked email revealed her No Women note. Authors departed, and her newest fantasy series failed, derisively labeled No Magic Here. Simon Trent's agency experienced a loss of clients following his boast about dismissing Emily's diary entries. His letterhead, embossed in gold, held no value now. His workspace was covered with manuscripts that hadn't sold. The publishing world reacted as Emily's triumph became apparent. Simon Trent, the agent who had previously dismissed Emily's diary entries, observed his agency collapse swiftly. Prominent authors distanced themselves, pointing to his perceived lack of foresight, as bookstores declined to stock his clients' titles, prioritizing displays for Harry Potter. His gold-stamped letterhead became a target for online ridicule, with memes labeling it the man who missed magic. Clara Voss's professional life suffered a dramatic downturn following the viral spread of her No Women email. Pinnacle's share price decreased significantly, leading to her reassignment to editing cookbooks, her red dress now a source of regret. Even Martin Hale's reduction in role caused considerable distress. Rumors circulated among his colleagues regarding his mistake, and his electronic correspondence was flooded with negative feedback from readers. They had discarded Harry. Their pride had resulted in complete loss, their identities now minor references in Emily's celebrated story. Applause erupted as online platforms declared her the sovereign writer who crafted narratives with simplicity and honesty. Emily ignored the commotion. She was at the cafe, working on the next installment, her writing instrument moving while Lily played nearby. Willow Tree Press sent her a royalty payment. The prize provided enough for a larger apartment, a suitable bed for Lily, and a fresh notebook. She remained composed, silent in her triumph, and simply wrote, her story proving more resilient than their criticism. The world embraced Harry Potter, and Emily Brooks, the individual once dismissed as insignificant, evolved into a celebrated figure. This demonstrates the strength of a narrative that refuses to be silenced. If this story resonated with you, please like, share, comment, and subscribe for more content. The moment she entered, she was dismissed. Her appearance was striking. A wrinkled oatmeal-colored dress, scuffed leather shoes, and hair loose down her back. An actress turned, speaking loudly enough for everyone to hear. Seriously? Appearing at the prestigious casting looking like that? She proceeded into the casting room, and the director's voice erupted. Oh my God! Are you mocking me? This is an insult. Get her out. Out. Despite the commotion, only one sentence was needed. The statement hung in the air, leaving the entire room utterly still. This was the final casting for Noble, a celebrated fragrance brand staging its initial return in 10 years, with a worldwide campaign filmed by Ethan Cole, the famously demanding director known for several Academy Award-winning art films. The central concept? Nobility. Not in a traditional aristocratic meaning, but something more profound. Something timeless. Auditions were taking place in Manhattan, at the top of the modern glass building belonging to Noble Corporation. Only 30 actresses were invited, carefully selected from thousands nationwide. These women represented the elite Golden Globe recipients, established talents, and popular figures in the media. Ellie Harper, however, seemed out of place, or so it appeared. She was an unknown, lacking a stylist or support team, and arrived wearing a simple dress, accompanied by a manager relying on a feeling and harboring a secret that would dramatically alter the situation. The casting took place on the top floor of the Noble Corporation's modern Manhattan skyscraper. Ellie Harper followed her manager, Claire Dawson, into the room and was almost overwhelmed by the brightness. The space was filled with well-known actors, with only a few unfamiliar faces present. The event's theme was nobility, so attendees were dressed in elaborate attire, including designer gowns, sparkling jewels, and impeccably styled hair. The majority of the attendees were familiar with one another, engaging in brief greetings and professional introductions. Those less acquainted sought opportunities to compliment prominent figures, and the room resonated with animated conversation. When Ellie entered the doorway, an abrupt stillness fell over the space. It wasn't due to recognition, no one knew her name, but rather because, in contrast to the well-known attendees adorned with diamonds, she seemed strikingly out of place. Some might have described her appearance as unconventional. Her dress was a simple, somewhat faded oatmeal-colored shift, and her brown leather shoes showed signs of wear and scuffing. She wore no jewelry, no makeup, and her chestnut hair flowed in loose, unbound waves down her back. The room was crowded with Hollywood's elite, and after a moment of surprised looks, they made no effort to conceal their disapproval. They didn't even quiet their voices as they openly criticized her directly. The question arose, who was this? Some whispered she appeared to have just emerged from a dumpster. Others wondered if she was lost. An actress made a dismissive expression. Another exclaimed, absolutely not. She's represented by Claire Dawson, the former manager of Vanessa Lane. Everyone recognized Claire, the highly successful manager who had propelled Vanessa Lane to fame before Vanessa's sudden retirement. Seeing Claire with Ellie caused astonishment. Wait, that's Claire's latest client? The one she's promoting so heavily? Producer derided. Even without Vanessa, Claire's professional history shouldn't involve working at this level. Is Dawson's agency in such a difficult situation? It's hard to believe they can't afford a stylist, someone remarked. No, they're not without funds, they simply don't prioritize her, another responded. Disparaging comments arose. Vanessa damaged her career due to a relationship, and Claire was oblivious until Vanessa made the announcement. She was her manager, and didn't realize the situation until then. Yeah, Claire's career has declined, a voice added. The prominent talent at Dawson's agency is Monica Reed, not Claire. Just then, a rising star from Starlight Entertainment, Brooke Kendall, approached Claire with a saccharine smile that couldn't quite conceal her derision. Claire, you're bringing a new talent to the casting? She inquired, her gaze dismissively assessing Ellie's attire. Claire responded calmly, I signed her up impulsively. She successfully completed the preliminary rounds, so I thought it would be beneficial experience. Her voice was modest but resolute, a veiled display of Ellie's achievement in reaching this stage among the nation's leading actresses. Brooke's expression became condescending as she observed Ellie, shaking her head. Claire, no offense, but even a waitress wouldn't present themselves this way. Do you feel Vanessa's departure severely? If you are finding things difficult, abandon Dawson's agency and join my team. My assistant's compensation isn't substantial, but it's preferable to supporting someone of Ellie's profile. Starlight and Dawson's agency had been competitors for years, and Brooke harbored a personal resentment. Vanessa had overshadowed her at award shows on numerous occasions. She wasn't going to let a chance to challenge Claire pass her. The people nearby smiled, enjoying the unfolding situation. Another voice interjected, Hey, I'm looking for assistance as well. Claire, would you be interested? Brooke laughed, pleased. Look at that, Claire is in high demand. No need to worry about going without. Ellie's gaze sharpened with a frigid look as Brooke embarrassed Claire. But Claire had cautioned her, regardless of what occurs, remain silent. Ellie located a peaceful spot, settled down, and shut her eyes, blocking out the surrounding sounds. Her purpose wasn't to argue. She was present to concentrate and discover the necessary emotion for the part. The audition commenced shortly thereafter. Ellie received a respectable number, 15 out of 30. Brooke, number 14, observed Ellie's number and released a theatrical sigh. Such a promising slot squandered on her. The initial actress, Mia Carson, entered. She was a force, a self-made star who had worked tirelessly to achieve a Golden Globe, lacking formal training or a privileged background. A palpable stillness fell over the room as she arrived. Her skill was unmistakable. Brooke, however, expressed skepticism. Honestly, she muttered, she's just a high school dropout from nowhere. How can she possibly succeed in Noble? Brooke herself wasn't from a family of actors, but her family possessed considerable wealth. Her father held a Senate position, her mother operated a high-end crocodile leather fashion brand, and she had been raised with refined manners. She received piano and calligraphy lessons, among other things. Today, she wore a dress valued higher than Noble's entire advertising budget, and her self-assurance was evident. Few could compare to her upbringing, despite some achieving similar levels of recognition. Mia appeared less than a minute later, her complexion pale. Her manager hurried to assist her, but Mia declined, appearing defeated. Her manager's shoulders slumped, though she stayed to comfort her. Brooke crossed her arms, smug. Knew it. What's a small-town girl gonna do with Noble? Other actresses with trust fund backgrounds echoed her, sneering as Mia, unable to bear the mocking stares, left the room. Even a Golden Globe couldn't shield her from the sting of their elitism. In her corner, Ellie cracked her eyes open, watching Mia's retreating figure with a flicker of regret. Mia's acting talent and existing fanbase suggested this advertisement would be a sure success. It was disappointing. The second actress, a Cole heiress whose father had funded her career, performed even worse. The third, a Naipo baby with actor parents, lasted only 3 minutes. She was adequate but ultimately unsuitable. As actress after actress was considered, even the most established names failed to meet expectations. Tension filled the audition room, particularly as the director, Ethan Cole, could be heard criticizing them from behind the closed door. Ethan's American accent possessed a sharp quality, developed through years of working internationally. He wondered if his words were being understood, and he doubted their intelligence. He desired grace and refinement, not lifeless figures performing mechanically. He criticized Mia, stating that while her performance was convincing, her eyes revealed a lack of depth. She seemed ordinary, just another actress, a mere prop. He dismissed a third, acknowledging her talent but finding her far from ideal. She didn't match the image he held. And one prior to Brooke, that was the 13th person. She believes I am foolish. She possesses no understanding of the harp. The actresses outside, previously full of self-importance, lost color. Is this man genuine? He has criticized everyone, one whispered. He holds a resentment towards Americans, another complained. It is simply an advertisement. Why is he behaving as though we must be specialists? Does he anticipate that we should become proficient in everything? Brooke laughed derisively, flipping her hair. Only individuals lacking talent create justifications and fault the director. As number 14, she entered the casting room. When Brooke opened the door, Ethan's scowl lessened. She wore a vintage-inspired gown, adorned with pearls and emeralds, and her blonde hair was styled in an elegant updo with a jade hairpin. She wasn't simply noble. She was a vision of American glamour with a hint of timeless sophistication. Ethan's eyes brightened, and his tone grew warmer. Come on, my dear. Step closer. Let me see you. Brooke stood confidently, allowing him to assess her. Growing up in privileged environments, her every movement, her smile, her bearing, displayed innate elegance. There was no need for pretense. Ethan walked around her, acknowledging with nods. Very well, Brooke. Let's see what you can do. The casting room was filled with a variety of props. A grand piano, a calligraphy set, a chessboard, an embroidery stand, and a silk fan. Brooke's eyes focused on a harp. This one, she stated, lightly touching the strings. The harp presented a greater challenge than a piano, demanding complex technique. 7 pedals, 47 strings, a range of 6.5 octaves. Ethan, a culture buff who had studied American and European arts for decades, wasn't someone easily deceived by a superficial performance. One actress had previously attempted a deceptive performance and received criticism. Ethan raised a brow as Brooke selected the harp, displaying skepticism. However, as she commenced playing, his expression changed. Her fingers moved gracefully over the strings, producing a melody that was both subtle and powerful. Following her performance, Ethan hesitated to reject her immediately. This was unprecedented. He spent a considerable time discussing the matter with his assistant. Eventually, the assistant approached Brooke with courtesy. "Ms. Kendall, we are still in the audition process, but could you please wait outside? We will inform you of our decision." The unspoken message was evident. They were impressed, but further evaluation was needed. Brooke responded with a pleasant smile. Certainly. Internally, she allowed a confident smirk. Who could possibly surpass her? The role was undoubtedly hers. As Brooke exited, a palpable excitement filled the room. She had been in there for almost 10 minutes, and instead of Ethan's typical shouting, they had heard the harp's delicate music. Brooke didn't retreat like the others. She sat down, composed, prepared to be summoned. It was clear. She had made the shortlist, possibly even secured the position. The other actresses' certainty lessened. The established performers didn't want a chance embarrassment. But the prestigious contract was too appealing to relinquish. "Number 15, you're up," the assistant announced. Ellie, still absorbed in her thoughts, remained still. Claire, seated next to her, didn't intervene. She understood Ellie needed this time. Brooke, noticing Ellie in her view, felt compelled to speak. "Claire, I'm not intending to be unkind, but why select her? Starlight dismissed her for a reason. Are you genuinely allowing her to audition in that state? If she performs poorly, it reflects not just on you, but on your entire agency." Brooke's words directed all attention to Ellie. The room shifted, with some actresses quietly laughing. Targeted as the recipient of their criticism, perhaps they wouldn't appear so unfavorable compared to Brooke. Several, however, remained silent, questioning whether Ellie's disheveled look was a calculated choice, a hidden tactic. Perhaps she would change before entering. "Claire, I'm ready," Ellie said quietly, opening her eyes. Claire nodded. "You can do it. Number 15, let's go," the assistant repeated. Amidst a wave of doubtful gazes, Ellie rose, adjusted her dress, and proceeded calmly to the casting room. The moment she vanished inside, the room erupted in whispers. "Is she really going in like that?" One actress murmured. "I had anticipated a hidden strategy, but it seemed she was auditioning as if she were down on her luck. Ethan is going to be furious. She's in serious trouble. Perhaps it's better not to know." Then, Ethan's voice boomed through the doorway. "Are you insulting me, insulting Noble? Get out." Brooke took a drink of juice given to her by her assistant, a smile playing on her lips. "That went better than I thought." Why proceed when failure is inevitable, clinging to the hope of an unexpected outcome? She retrieved her phone and initiated a call. "Hey, Savannah. Brooke, are you finished? How did it proceed?" Savannah's voice was even and comforting. "Exceptional, as expected," Brooke, she responded with a hint of confidence. The initial 13 actresses presented challenges, but the remainder? They were no match. "You are guaranteed success." "Of course you would succeed," Savannah laughed. "Thank you for making way, dear. This opportunity would have rightfully been yours. Please don't exaggerate. I've assisted you before, such as securing a partnership between your father's company and my mother's brand last month. Minor things. You won't believe who I just saw." "Who?" "Your foster sister, Ellie Harper, the country bumpkin." "What? How did she get into a Noble casting?" "I have no idea what fortunate circumstances she encountered to succeed in the prelims, but it was amusing to watch. The theme is nobility, and she appeared as if she lives under a bridge." "She's lost it," Savannah laughed. "Absolutely. Avoiding interaction with her is wise. She is creating a difficult situation for herself. Regardless, I must leave. I'll speak with you when I have cause for celebration." Within the casting room, Ethan's anger encountered Ellie's composure. She remained present, undisturbed, her clear, hazel eyes meeting his. A quality in her gaze, sincere and resolute, caused him to hesitate, as if he were the one who didn't belong. Her attire was unremarkable. It was simply quite understated compared to the others' elaborate appearances. The dress, though used, was tidy and clean. Her unadorned face, gentle and simple, evoked a line of verse for him, like a lotus blooming purely from the water, free from embellishment. Yet her apparent lack of preparation felt like a rebuke. "You, I'm speaking to you. Do you not understand English? You are dismissed. Please leave now. Do not waste anyone else's time," Ethan stated, too frustrated to even inquire about her name. While he scolded, Ellie moved toward the harp Brooke had used. Her fingers lightly touched the strings, producing a few notes. Ethan's anger intensified. He paused, intending to continue. However, a sudden rush of sound halted him. The musical phrases flowed, complex and resonant. This is Shenandoah?" he questioned, surprised. It was recognized as a difficult American folk composition for harp, a poignant tune deeply connected to the country's identity. Brooke had performed a less complicated classical selection. Ellie remained silent. She was positioned at the harp, her fingers moving with accuracy. The music grew, captivating Ethan. He disregarded his frustration, forgot to speak, and was absorbed by the melody's richness. Shenandoah stood as a cornerstone of American music, its notes reflecting themes of longing, resilience, and quiet strength. It resonated beyond beauty. It pulsed with defiance, a narrative of perseverance through hardship. Ellie's performance wasn't merely skilled, it embodied the song's essence. Ethan watched, stunned. Her clothes were ragged, her face bare, but as she played, no one could mistake her for anything less than extraordinary. She wasn't insignificant, she was a force, her story interwoven into every note. As the final chord concluded, Ethan remained silent. Following a considerable interval, he composed himself, his voice lowered. "Your Shenandoah, it surpassed all my expectations." Ellie responded, nodding subtly, her face exhibiting no change. His perception of her composure, whether confronted with his criticisms or his accolades, impressed him. It wasn't a display of arrogance, it was something more profound, a grace appearing to emanate from within her. This was nobility. It wasn't the kind derived from money or status, but the kind built within, resilient even in poverty. He observed her, his anticipation increasing. None of the others, not even Brooke, had resonated with him in the same way. Brooke's presentation, as flawless as it seemed, felt practiced and insincere. But Ellie? She possessed genuine substance. He cleared his throat and inquired further. "Tell me, how do you understand nobility?" The others had provided standard responses, education, refinement, poise, which were dependable but lacking inspiration. He leaned forward, wanting to hear Ellie's opinion. She hesitated, carefully selecting her words. Genuine nobility isn't defined by the display of wealth or the importance of a lineage. It's not about jewelry or a perfect appearance. It's not even the knowledge or etiquette one shows off to make an impression. True nobility is when you're wearing a simple dress, your hair disheveled, yet your inner light shines through, unmistakable. Ethan's eyes widened, his face practically glowing. Ellie continued, "Noble's campaign is about fragrance, right? A fragrance can communicate more about an individual than any elaborate outfit. For a woman, perfume embodies her identity. It holds greater significance than clothing. It possesses enduring quality, unlike fleeting trends such as jewelry or hairstyles. A truly exceptional fragrance remains memorable." Ethan reacted immediately. "Yes, absolutely." He nodded emphatically. Her statement perfectly captured the campaign's core message. Outside, the waiting actresses overheard Ethan's immediate reaction, then a moment of quiet, followed by the harp's uplifting melody. One actress remarked, "Did Claire prepare her with a harp trick?" After Brooke's performance, "That's just embarrassing." Another, more perceptive, frowned. "That piece sounds harder than Brooke's, but it won't matter." Brooke, who knew her harps, felt a flicker of unease at the technical skill echoing from the room, but she brushed it off. "Claire, your little project doesn't get it. The harp's elegant, performers bathe, dress impeccably, respect the tradition. She's disrespecting the art itself. Ethan's gonna tear her apart." The others nodded. Claire remained silent, observing the door. Ellie hadn't been dismissed yet. That was step one, but her strategy was risky, and Claire wasn't certain how it would be received. When the music ceased, there was no yelling. The wait felt longer than Brooke's audition. "What's happening in there?" An actress murmured, pacing. "He's likely reprimanding her so severely he's lost track of time. Ethan is a top-tier director. He's ruthless. This could damage Claire's whole agency." Ethan retrieved Ellie's file from his assistant, quickly reviewing it. His eyes widened. "Ellie Harper. Wait, you're Cassandra Reed?" "Cassandra?" "Yes, that was my first film role," Ellie stated. Claire had sent clips from Legacy, so he wasn't surprised he recognized the name. However, his enthusiasm appeared considerable. Ellie continued, "The moment I saw Cassandra, I was captivated. I need to see that film in theaters. When's it out?" Ethan's regret was noticeable. He nearly didn't recognize her, as her usual appearance differed significantly from her on-screen image. Ellie offered a polite smile. "Still in post-production, likely a month away." She added, "Thank you for the kind words." "No, you deserve it," Ethan exclaimed. In Legacy, Cassandra was portrayed as a villain, but her powerful and seemingly unapproachable demeanor was precisely what he'd been seeking. Ellie's performance today only validated that. "I'm so sorry, Ellie. I was mistaken, almost sent you away." She replied, "You're right. Genuine heritage extends beyond appearance." He guided her to a presentation of distinguished perfumes. For 2 centuries, these perfumes have been created using time-honored methods and the world's most exceptional components. It's the scent of authentic aristocracy. I am pleased to lead this campaign, but I required someone who could represent that ideal. Fortunately, I found you. This partnership will be flawless." His assistant cleared his throat, murmuring, "Sir, others remain. Should we proceed to the next candidate?" Ethan dismissed him with a gesture. "There is no need. Ellie is our ambassador. Please dismiss the rest." Outside, the door finally opened. The assistant emerged, addressing the crowd. "Ladies, we have selected Ellie as our ambassador. The casting is complete. As a token of our gratitude, we are gifting everyone a 3-day luxury cruise. Enjoy." The room fell silent. Actresses who had not auditioned stared in disbelief. "What? Is finished? We didn't even get an audition." It was disappointing, but most weren't shocked. The leading actresses breathed a sigh of relief. They avoided any embarrassment. A wave of congratulations washed over Brooke. "Well done, Brooke. If it's you, I'm not mad." Brooke rose, enjoying the accolades, and moved towards the assistant. "Thank you, Ethan, for the opportunity. I won't let him down." The assistant seemed puzzled. No, there's been a misunderstanding. It's not Ms. Kendall." A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Ethan selected Ellie Harper, number 15. "Ellie Harper? The one dressed like a bum?" Someone exclaimed. "You're joking, right?" Brooke's complexion visibly paled. "There's a mistake." Everyone was talking about Ellie Harper, the relatively unknown contestant. She had already mentioned the news to Savannah. The thought of losing to Ellie? It was simply unacceptable. The assistant confirmed with a firm nod. There was no error. It was Ms. Harper, number 15. Brooke's voice trembled with anger. This felt unjust. They deserved an explanation. The assistant expressed resignation. "It's Ethan's decision. I am unable to alter it." "Then allow me to speak with him," Brooke insisted. Others whispered, questioning whether the assistant had made a mistake with the announcement. Even Claire appeared shocked. The assistant finally agreed. "I'll pass this on." He returned promptly. Ethan said, "Ms. Kendall, when you see the advertisement, you'll understand why we selected Ellie." He turned to Claire. "Ms. Dawson, Ethan would like you to come in to discuss the contract." Claire, still absorbing the information, nodded. "Thank you." She followed him inside, leaving Brooke visibly embarrassed and the others speechless. "No way. Ellie Harper? We lost to her?" "I was going to say, she's Claire's client. There's no way she's that uncomplicated. We underestimated them. Consider Ellie a surprise." Brooke must be feeling the pressure. First, Vanessa had control, and now Claire is working with a new talent. During the return trip, Claire observed Ellie, who was enjoying a hot dog. It was her first meal since preparing for the casting. The more Claire collaborated with her, the less certain she appeared. "You okay?" Ellie asked, with her mouth full, noticing Claire's gaze. "Feeling fortunate to have a brilliant client like me?" Claire laughed. "I thought your approach was dangerous. Ethan is knowledgeable, he might have detected any deception. Regarding that harp, you played remarkably well. That requires years of practice." Ellie almost laughed until she choked. "Years?" Claire responded, "You're being overly generous. I learned it in a month, and it's the only piece I know. I memorized it by rote. My intention was purely to impress." Claire blinked, visibly amused and disbelieving. "Seriously?" Ellie confirmed, raising a finger. "I experiment with various instruments. Harp, piano, whatever. I learned just enough to manage, but I'm certainly no expert." Acknowledging that lengthy dedication can lead to focusing on fundamental principles and then proceeding, Claire shook her head, smiling. "You're quite remarkable." As the city lights passed by, Ellie took another bite of her hot dog, seemingly unaffected by the day's events. She had entered a room filled with challenging individuals, allowed them to challenge her, and ultimately succeeded. This wasn't driven by a need to demonstrate her superiority, but because she possessed a strong sense of self, which was sufficient. Please enjoy this story, and consider sharing it with others, leaving a comment, and subscribing for more thrilling content. She experienced ridicule, physical contact, and was expelled from the Orem Wellness Spa, solely due to her attire, a simple white dress and flats, as opposed to more elaborate jewelry and heels. Her reservation was visibly ripped before her. Derisive laughter trailed her as she exited into the snow. The following morning, her husband's private jet touched down on the mountain. This was no ordinary jet. It was the custom G800, distinguished by E-stone etched in silver. As he disembarked, those who had previously demeaned her were visibly stunned. They were completely mistaken. Snow spiraled through the sharp peaks of the Swiss Alps, coating the glass walls of the Orem Wellness Spa with glittering crystalline particles resembling diamonds. Within, the atmosphere was heavy with the aroma of eucalyptus and the sound of privileged comfort. Patrons, adorned in cashmere robes, enjoyed matcha lattes as attendants applied 24-karat gold facial masks. Ella Stone entered through the substantial doors, her white cotton dress gently swaying around her legs, her flats making no sound on the marble flooring. Her dark hair was styled in a relaxed half-updo, her face unadorned by makeup, glowing but tired from weeks immersed in floodwaters, reconstructing a village in East Africa. She carried nothing but a quiet elegance that appeared incongruous with the luxury surrounding her. The receptionist observed her closely, her lips forming a dismissive expression. "This is a luxury spa, not a donation drop-off." Laughter spread through the lounge and Ella's heart felt a pang. She hadn't come seeking their approval. She'd come for relaxation, but what followed would shake this mountaintop. The Orem Wellness Spa was a haven of privilege situated at 8,000 feet, reachable only by private helicopter or a winding road designated for the world's elite. The gathering included a distinguished assembly of royalty, CEOs, and celebrities, with attendance secured through a Royal Gold Tier membership or a highly sought-after invitation. Ella, aged 32, appeared out of place. Her dress, understated and without visible branding, showed slight wrinkles from her luggage. Her shoes, functional and showing wear, made a subtle squeaking sound on the gleaming floor. However, her beauty, genuine and without artifice, attracted glances, though not the type she desired. She moved toward the reception desk, her hazel eyes focused, her voice gentle yet distinct. "Good afternoon," Ella said, offering a small smile. "I have a reservation under Ella Stone." The receptionist, Claire, a woman with sleek blonde hair and a diamond-studded name tag, barely looked up from her screen. Her fingers paused as she typed, and she tilted her head, assessing Ella with undisguised disdain. "A reservation?" Claire repeated, her tone sharp. "This is an exclusive spa. Reservations are for members only. Maybe you had a reservation at the lodge further down the valley?" Ella's smile remained steady, although her fingers pressed a little more firmly around the phone. "No, I'm positive it's here." I made the booking online last week. Would you mind checking again, please? Claire let out a sigh, her carefully done nails striking the keyboard with deliberate slowness. Guests in the nearby lounge, women in designer loungewear, men with Rolexes glinting, glanced over, their whispers growing louder. A woman with a platinum bob, her face shimmering with gold flakes, leaned toward her companion. She whispered, loud enough for Ella to hear. Looks like she walked here from a tent. Her friend, a man in a tailored blazer, chuckled, probably chasing Instagram clout. Pathetic. As Ella stood at the reception desk, a woman in a velvet robe rose from the lounge, her diamond earrings catching the light. Excuse me, she said, her voice laced with mockery. Is this a new charity event? Are we sponsoring refugees now? Laughter erupted in the room, guests applauding as if she's made a joke. She moved closer, her gaze sweeping over Ella's dress with disapproval. Honestly, darling, you're embarrassing yourself. Go back to wherever you came from. Ella's fingers gripped her phone, her face composed but her heart racing beneath their amusement. Ella felt her cheeks flush, but she maintained her gaze on Claire, ignoring the people around them. She had endured more challenging circumstances, including floods, famine, and heartbreak. This felt insignificant in comparison. However, the impact of their disapproval remained, a subtle discomfort settling beneath her composed demeanor. Claire's eyes shifted between the screen and Ella, her expression becoming stern. There's no Ella Stone in our system, she stated plainly. Are you certain you didn't reserve a spot under a different name, or possibly someone else's? Claire bent across the counter, raising her voice to be heard by everyone present. Let's be clear, she stated, gesturing towards Ella's dress. This spa has a reputation to uphold. You look like you haven't seen a mirror in years. Did you think you could simply enter here? She glanced towards the lounge, encouraging their amusement with a dramatic shrug. Seriously, how did she even get past the gate? The crowd responded with boisterous laughter, some capturing images with their phones, the flashes resembling vultures circling prey. Ella remained still, her poise unwavering, but the pain of being the center of attention was intense. The suggestion lingered, a weighty accusation. Ella appeared to be an imposter, an unwelcome presence in their luxurious environment. Just as she was about to speak, a man in a tailored suit approached from the lounge. This was Victor Lang, the spa's guest relations manager, known for identifying concerns before they disturbed the atmosphere. His lips tightened into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Is there a problem, Claire? Victor inquired, his voice calm yet firm. Claire indicated Ella, her tone full of derision. This visitor states she possesses a reservation, but we have no corresponding entry. I had been detailing our membership guidelines. Victor's eyes moved over Ella, pausing on her dress, her footwear, and her unadorned hands. I understand, he stated, joining his hands behind his back. Victor approached, his polished shoes clicking distinctly. Let's resolve this, he said, moving around Ella as if a hunter assessing a prize. He hesitated, examining her with deliberate attention, then scoffed. No makeup, no jewelry, no elegance. Did you believe we wouldn't see? He indicated her flats, his voice carrying across the lounge. Those shoes belong in a second-hand shop, not Orem. You're not just out of place, you're a slight to our guests. Laughter rose, guests concurring, their disapproval a pressing tide. Ella faced his look, unwavering, yet the atmosphere around her felt denser, tinged with their disdain. Madam, the Orem Spa is reserved for Royal Gold Tier members, or those with private invitations. Without proper credentials, I'm afraid you don't meet our standards. I have a confirmation email, Ella said evenly, pulling out her phone. She opened the message, displaying a booking code and payment receipt. It's right here. Victor didn't bother looking at the screen. He waved a hand dismissively, as if swatting away an insect. Emails can be fabricated or borrowed, he said. The system was confirmed as complete. My name was absent. A wave of quiet laughter spread through the lounge, the guests ceasing their attempts to overlook what was happening. A woman wearing a robe with fur trim remarked, perhaps she located the code on a promotional website. Her companions chuckled, their gold masks wrinkling. Ella's expression hardened, but she refrained from responding. She put away her phone, her actions measured and controlled, preserving her composure against their unkindness. "I understand," she said softly. "I will depart." "Oh, not quite," Claire stated, her voice suddenly firm. She indicated a security guard positioned close to the entrance, a large man named Rolf, who had a buzz cut and a stern expression. "We do not permit unauthorized entry," she stated. "Rolf will make sure you are directed to the exit." Rolf advanced, his boots making a heavy sound on the marble floor. "This way," he said gruffly, pointing towards the glass doors. Outside, snow fell in dense curtains, and the wind roared against the mountainside. Ella paused, glancing at the confirmation email one last time. She had the option to contest this, request a re-examination, or challenge their assertion. However, the pressure of their gazes, the confident expressions on their faces, indicated it would be futile. This was not the place, and this was not the moment. She stood tall, raising her chin a little. "Thank you for your time," she stated, her voice even despite the shame she felt within. She pivoted and proceeded towards the exit, Rolf following closely. While passing the lounge, a man wearing a silk scarf murmured, "I bet she borrowed someone's booking code or found it online." His companion chuckled, lifting a glass of sparkling water in a playful salute. As Ella turned towards the doors, a group of guests located near the lounge rose, their voices forming a taunting chant. "Out, out, out," they called, clapping in time, their gold masks shimmering like harsh reflections. One threw a crumpled napkin at her, snickering, "Take that for your next booking." Someone yelled, "Don't return unless you learn to dress." The chanting intensified, a surge of mockery tracking her movements. Ella kept her shoulders straight, her steps even, but each word struck her like a weight, filled with their shared disapproval. The entrances appeared nearer, offering a way out, but not comfort. The glass entrances slid open, and a rush of cold air touched Ella's face. Rolf remained inside, arms crossed, making sure she wouldn't turn around. The doors closed behind her, shutting her out into the snow. Her dress provided scant warmth, her flats sank into the powder. She paused there for a moment, the spa's golden light seeming to mock her through the glass, the sounds of laughter reaching her. Ella didn't weep. She didn't utter a curse. She simply retrieved her phone, her fingers remaining steady despite the cold, and composed a message. "They removed my name from the list and my dignity. Is it possible for me to borrow the jet?" She pressed send, placed the phone in her pocket, and proceeded down the snow-covered path, her form disappearing into the storm. Unaware of the impending consequences, the spa continued its operations. The closest village, a collection of chalets located 10 miles down the mountain, was still when Ella reached it. She had secured transportation with a compassionate delivery driver who felt sympathy for her cold appearance. Currently, she sat near a window in a modest inn, enjoying tea, the floorboards creaking and a fire crackling in the hearth. Her dress was damp, her hair matted, but her expression remained calm and resolute. She felt no anger for her own experience. Instead, she felt anger for everyone who had ever been dismissed, judged, or discarded for not fitting an established standard. The spa's actions were not a personal attack, it was a systemic problem, and that was what she intended to address. Her phone vibrated, a response from Ethan. "Jet's on its way. Be there tomorrow. Love you." She smiled subtly, placing the phone down. There was nothing more to explain. Ethan would comprehend. He always did. Ethan Stone was a name recognized with significance across continents. At 40, he led Stone Medical Technologies as CEO, a worldwide enterprise that transformed healthcare through AI-driven diagnostics and reasonably priced prosthetics. Forbes listed him as one of the world's top 5 billionaires, but his financial status represented only a portion of his power. His influence, subtle yet steadfast, impacted policies, provided funding for hospitals, and addressed concerns from critics. He shunned public attention, preferring his actions to convey his message. However, his actions always drew notice, and currently he was acting for Ella. They had first encountered each other 12 years prior, when Ella served as a volunteer nurse in a war-torn region, and Ethan was transporting medical supplies. Her bravery, her unwillingness to yield to disorder, captivated him. She had never been interested in his wealth, only his character. Working in tandem, they had created a life of significance, with her directing relief operations and him developing solutions to preserve lives. Their wealth served as a means, not a display of prestige, and Ella's unassuming nature was her asset, a deliberate choice to remain humble despite their billions. Returning to the spa, the morning arrived bright and clear, the snow shimmering under a faint sun, guests relaxed in warm pools, their laughter drifting through the mountain air. Claire performed her duties, her smile polished as she welcomed a prince from Dubai. Victor moved among the affluent, guaranteeing every desire was fulfilled. Rolf remained near the doors, his posture a quiet deterrent to those not belonging. At 10:03 a.m., a faint tremor disturbed the calm, causing heads to turn and eyes to narrow towards the distant view. A modern Gulfstream G800, its dark, non-reflective exterior shining, began its descent towards the private airstrip located 3 miles away. The inscription E. Stone was displayed in silver on its tail, readily identifiable to those familiar with influence. Rumors quickly rippled through the spa. Could that be Stone's aircraft? A guest questioned, holding her robe. Ethan Stone, here? Claire's smile wavered, her fingers pausing above the keyboard. Victor stopped speaking, his gaze moving to the windows. Rolf stirred restlessly, feeling a change in the atmosphere. A group of black SUVs approached along the mountain road, their tires disturbing the snow. Staff members in formal suits exited the vehicles, establishing a barrier around the spa's entrance. Visitors moved closer to the windows, their matcha left untouched, their gold masks falling. The doors slid open and Ethan Stone entered. His gray wool coat was understated yet custom-made, his dark hair showing hints of silver, his blue eyes as sharp as the alpine wind. Standing 6'2", he possessed a quiet authority that hushed the room. Trailing him, a single aide carried a leather binder, its heft indicating more than just documents. All eyes tracked his progress as he traversed the marble floor, his steps measured, his expression unrevealing. Claire straightened, summoning a smile despite the tremor in her hands. Victor quickly approached, his characteristic charm absent, replaced by a nervous politeness. "Mr. Stone," Victor said, offering his hand. "What an honor. Welcome to Orem Wellness Spa. How may we?" Ethan didn't respond to the greeting. He halted at the reception desk, his eyes fixed on Claire. The room fell silent. "My wife was here yesterday," he stated, his voice quiet, measured, slicing through the stillness. "Ella Stone possessed a confirmed reservation, yet you denied her entry." Claire's face visibly paled. I don't remember," I stated. "You don't recall," Ethan repeated, his voice even but firm. He retrieved a single card from his coat, black with gold embossing. It read, "Ella Stone, Founding Equity Partner, Supreme Elite Membership." He presented it on the counter, the sound distinct in the quiet atmosphere. Victor's eyes widened, his mouth moving silently. "Mr. Stone, it seems there may be a misunderstanding." Ethan raised a hand, stopping him. He placed the leather binder next to the card, the cover displaying the Orem logo. "There is no misunderstanding," he stated. "My wife was a founding investor in 12 of your global properties. She held 20% ownership of this spa, or did until yesterday." He opened the binder, showing a contract filled with legal language. "This morning, she is redirecting all of her investment funds to your competitor, Vitali's Resorts, with immediate effect." A collective intake of breath went through the lounge. Guests held their phones, many already typing quickly. Claire's hands went to her mouth, her gaze searching for Victor. He offered no assistance. His face paled and he seemed to be recalling his career. "Mr. Stone," Victor stammered, "please allow us to rectify this. We were unaware." Ethan stated, his voice now colder, "because you evaluated her based on her dress, not her inherent value. You summoned security to guide her out into a snowstorm. You canceled her booking to preserve your desired appearance." He moved closer, his gaze fixed on Claire. "If you are unable to respect a woman wearing a simple dress, you do not deserve to cater to any woman at all." The statement resonated powerfully. Patrons stirred with discomfort, some averting their gaze, others murmuring in disbelief. A sense of diminishing hope lingered near the entrance, his frown giving way to apprehension. Ethan turned to his assistant, who provided him with a tablet. The surveillance footage from yesterday, Ethan stated, addressing the room, is already with my legal team. By tonight, it will be public. The world will see precisely how you treat your guests. Claire's legs gave way and she held onto the counter for support. Victor moved forward, desperation evident in his voice. Mr. Stone, we will do anything. Reactivate her reservation and extend a lifetime membership offer. Ethan replied, closing the binder decisively, it's over. He then addressed the security team, a single nod indicating, remove the implicated staff. Immediately, the suited guards acted quickly, moving towards Claire, Victor, and Rolf. Claire's objections escalated into cries as she was guided towards the rear exit. Several days following Ethan's visit, Claire was brought before the spa's remaining employees, called for a meeting with Orum's regional director. The crispness of her uniform couldn't hide the paleness of her face, nor repair her shattered confidence. The director's tone was frigid, stating, your actions concerning Ella Stone have damaged our brand. The termination was immediate, and she was warned, finding future employment will be difficult, as every spa in Europe is aware of your name. Claire received her final paycheck, her eyes filling with tears, the room filled with silence save for the sound of her resignation letter. She left to whispers, her career now in ruins, the remnants of her self-assurance gone, replaced by a harsh lesson in humility. This was her career. She wept, but no one stepped in. Victor trailed behind, his head lowered, murmuring apologies to the empty air. Rolf did not struggle, simply exited, his boots scraping the floor. Ethan spoke to the remaining staff, his voice steady and firm. This spa's territorial license is revoked. Orum's parent company has been notified. You will close by the end of the month. A moment of shocked quiet followed. Guests looked at each other, some quietly leaving to avoid the consequences, others recording the scene surreptitiously. The spa's golden glow appeared to lessen, its exclusivity weakening because of Ethan's words. He turned to depart, pausing briefly to retrieve Ella's membership card. She didn't require this to demonstrate her value, he stated, placing it in his pocket. You needed it to demonstrate yours, and you did not succeed. As the doors closed behind him, the spa was plunged into turmoil. Managers rushed to contact corporate, guests requested refunds, and employees murmured about their prospects. The news disseminated rapidly, much like snowfall. By noon, Orum's scandal was trending globally, the released video inciting widespread anger on social media platforms. Critics denounced the spa's exclusivity, and Vitali's Resorts declared a new collaboration with Ella Stone, guaranteeing accessible wellness for everyone. 1 week elapsed, and Ella passed the spa's closed entrance, the glass doors now secured, the marble floor appearing somber. Snow accumulated against the walls, concealing the previously prominent Orum logo. The white dress remained, though now paired with boots instead of flats, and her hair was still partially arranged upwards. Her appearance hadn't changed, yet she projected a greater intensity, as if the mountain itself were yielding to her. Ethan stood close, his coat lightly covered in snow, his arm gently touching hers. They stopped, observing the deserted building. On the nearby street corner, Claire was visible in her former Orum uniform, distributing promotional flyers for a discount massage establishment. Their eyes connected briefly with Ella's, then lowered, a blush rising on her cheeks. Ella remained silent, words were unnecessary. Her quietness resonated more powerfully than any reprimand, her composure demonstrating her resilience. Ethan offered a wry smile, drawing nearer. Next time, I'm bringing the entire massage team to our villa, all right? Ella responded with laughter, a cheerful sound against the stillness of the mountains, and they continued their walk, departing the spa and its teachings behind. If this story resonated with you, please like it, share it with others, leave a comment, and subscribe for more content.